Assalamu alaikum dear students. Welcome to Introduction to Bioinformatics class. This is our lecture number 4. First of all, we will look into the recap what we have done previously. That is, we have discussed about the different techniques of bioinformatics, and then in the technique there is some methods of prediction and pattern recognition in bioinformatics. Then we have discussed and done an example of dot plot, and that sequence alignment is a significant technique in the bioinformatics. So after that, we have discussed the various database searches. There are different categories of databases. For example, nucleotide acids and protein databases are different. So we get all type of biological information to the databases, and then we can able to analyze or organize the biological information to the databases. Okay, then now this is today's topic content. First of all, we will look into the introduction to molecular biology, and then structure of cell. We will talk about types of organisms. Then we will look into the characteristics of living organisms, how living organisms come into one at one point. And then there are difference between eukaryotes and prokaryotes. These are the cell types. And then we will talk about the size and lifespan of a cell. After that, we will see what makes the cells, and then we will learn about the proteins, which is the engine of any cellular process. Okay, first of all, we will look into the introduction of molecular biology, in which in the past couple of decades, biologists have invented tools and technologies that can measure many different aspects of biology and dissect the living units of life at the molecular level. Molecular level is basically consider the genome of the living organisms. Genome basically, you know that के एक heredity material है, heredity molecule है, which carries all the information of that particular organisms. So basically जो biologists ने उन्होंने tools and technologies को इन्वेंट किया ताकि हम मॉलिक्यूलर लेवल पर जो लिविंग यूनिट्स हैं उनको उनका डायसेक्शन कर सके, उसके बारे में डिफरेंट एस्पेक्ट से हम उसको अंडरस्टैंड कर सके. एंड देन दिस डेटा शुड हेल्प अस टू अंडरस्टैंड लाइफ एट इट्स वेरी बेसिक मॉलिक्यूलर लेवल पर हम क्या कर सकते हैं, उसकी बेसिक्स को अंडरस्टैंड कर सकते हैं, एंड देन वी कैन इंटीग्रेट such levels to each other while understanding all the way up to level of organisms. Okay, now we will talk about molecular biology. What is molecular biology? Basically, it is a branch of biology that study gene structure and function at the molecular level. जीन की बात अब करेंगे कैसे हम. First of all, we know what is DNA. DNA is the hereditary material of any particular organism. अब उस particular organisms where there is a collection of chromosomes, which is 23 in pairs. In total, it is 46 chromosomes present in the DNA. So gene is basically the smallest unit of the you can say that gene is the smallest unit of the chromosome or the genome. So we have to study about the gene structure. Gene basically, if it is a smallest unit of the organism, then it must define the function or characteristics of any trait or any function of the organism. So we have to know that gene structure and function at a molecular level. So all these things can cover in the molecular biology. So now molecular biology field overlaps with other areas, which is genetics and biochemistry. Genetics में आप genes के बारे में and genomes के बारे में study करते हैं, and biochemistry उन different molecules का जो chemical reactions और interactions हो रहे होते हैं उनकी study को हम उनकी study हम करते हैं. So these two different areas are overlaps in the molecular biology. After that, molecular biology allows the laboratory to be predictive in nature events that occur in the future. जो future में होने वाले events हैं या diseases हैं या different aspects के through हम ये देख सकते हैं कि different diseases जो हैं वो future में occur होती हैं और उनको उनकी prediction हम early stage पे कर सकते हैं. तो molecular biology जो है वो हमें इसमें help करती है. So now this is the cell structure. If you know since your school that you know that there is a cell structure, and if any organism has the different organ in their body. For example, we have lungs, brain, heart, and stomach, and there are various different organ systems are working in our body. In the same way, cell every cell has their own structures, and there are different organelles are present in the cell. Every organ has some specific function. Just like this is the animal cell, and it is membrane bounded. You can see that ये जो आपको नजर आ रहा है, this is the membrane, and inside this membrane there are various different organelles. So mitochondria is the organelle of the cell, which helps to store and produce the energy. So in the same way, ribosomes are the factory protein factory, which means that कि इसमें हमारी protein synthesis, ribosome basically protein synthesis कर रहा होता है. So these are the some functions of the organelles of the cell. So here the most important thing is nucleus. This is the nucleus, and in which nucleus also there are chromatin, nuclear envelope के अंदर हमारा जो बिल्कुल nucleus के अंदर हमारा एक जो genome है, basically DNA, you can say that, which is present inside the nucleus. So there are nuclear pores. You can see that these are the pores, which is the nuclear pores. And the whole thing, the nucleolus, in nucleolus there is a genome present. So there are various different excuse me, there are various different organelles of this cell which has specific functions. So we are not going in depth to what other organelles do for the specific function, but still we just know the basic information that every organelle has some specific function. So now we get into the cell. We will start by thinking of what makes us alive. हमें वो ऐसी कौन सी characteristics है जो हमें alive रखती हैं. Today we know that there are many different types of organisms, including animals, plants, fungi, and microorganisms. Animals and plants are the major categories, and fungi are the microorganisms. You can say that, just like if you know that if there is a bread, ठीक है, bread piece, and then if you can put it outside और कुछ दिनों के लिए रख दें, उस पर जो है वो आप फंजाई जो है वो ग्रो कर जाती है. इसी तरह से माइक्रो ऑर्गेनिजम्स हैं, in microorganisms there are viruses and bacteria. They are all alive because they bear some characteristics that are common to all of them and which are not present in stuff that is not alive. अच्छा, अब ऐसी कोई तो characteristics हैं जो हमारे सब के दरमियान जो है कॉमन है, जो एनिमल्स, प्लांट्स, फंजाई, माइक्रो ऑर्गेनिजम्स के दरमियान में कॉमन है. और उसको हम देखते हैं. Okay, what can these characteristics be? These characteristics of living organisms include: living organisms can grow, they can develop, they can reproduce, they maintain their internal state, like we human try to keep our body at around 37 degrees centigrade. So And next is in types of organisms. Okay, cells. If you know, cells are the basic building blocks of any living organisms. Or if I can just give you a basic information that cells are the basic unit of the building. You can say that जो हमारी ह्यूमन बॉडी है इट इज मेड अप ऑफ वेरियस सेल्स. ठीक है, अब हमारी बॉडी के अंदर भी डिफरेंट पार्ट्स हैं, ऑर्गन्स हैं. सेल्स cells हमारे tissues बनाते हैं. A group of cells makes up the tissues, and then group of tissues makes up the organs, and a complete uh, group of tissues and organs makes a complete human body or any human or any living organisms. So types of organism, we can classify organisms based on number of cells contained. अच्छा, अब हमारे पास जो टाइप्स ऑफ ऑर्गेनिजम्स हैं उनमें हमारे पास यूनिसेलुलर और मल्टीसेलुलर ऑर्गेनिजम्स आते हैं. इसमें हमारे जो यूनिसेलुलर ऑर्गेनिजम्स हैं, दीज आर द दोज ऑर्गेनिजम्स जिसमें एक सिंगल सेल होता है और उसमें हमारी उस सेल के अंदर उस ऑर्गेनिजम्स की जितनी भी फंक्शनैलिटीज हैं दैट कैरीज दैट सेल. और मल्टीसेलुलर ऑर्गेनिजम्स आर दोज सेल्स जिसमें सॉरी मल्टीसेलुलर ऑर्गेनिज्म आर दो ऑर्गेनिज्म जिसमें हमारे पास मल्टीपल टाइप्स ऑफ सेल्स होते हैं दैट परफॉर्म द डिफरेंट फंक्शनैलिटीज ऑफ द for that organism. So we can say that where cells cooperate and together form our organisms. Now we will talk about eukaryote and prokaryote cell types. Unicellular organisms can be further split into eukaryotes and prokaryotes, where the biggest visual difference is in the part of the cell that is nucleus. अच्छा, अब eukaryotes और prokaryotes में क्या difference है? That is of nucleus. Prokaryotes lack any membrane bound organelle. जो prokaryotes हैं उनकी मेम्ब्रेन बाउंड नहीं होती बल्कि सेल वॉल होती है. A specialized sub unit within the cell that carries out a specific function. A prokaryote is a unicellular organism that lacks a membrane bound nucleus, mitochondria or any other membrane bound organelle. अच्छा, अब प्रोक्रियोट की बात करेंगे तो यू कैन मेक अ सेंस के दैट इज ऑफ प्लांट सेल्स, और जो यूकैरियोट्स हैं दैट इज ऑफ एनिमल सेल्स और ह्यूमन सेल्स. Okay, a eukaryote is any organism whose cells have a nucleus. यूकैरियोट्स वो ऑर्गेनिजम्स हैं जिनका न्यूक्लियस होता है, उनकी सेल मेम्ब्रेन होती है, माइटोकॉन्ड्रिया होता है, एंड अदर ऑर्गेनल्स इनक्लोज विद इन द मेम्ब्रेन्स. और बाकी के जितने भी जो सेल के ऑर्गेनल्स हैं वो मेम्ब्रेन में इनक्लोज होते हैं. यूकैरियोट्स कैन बी यूनिसेल्युलर और मल्टीसेल्युलर ऑर्गेनिजम्स. I will give you an example of eukaryotes and prokaryotes from the a live example from the Google, which is this is the plant cell and this is the animal cells. अब जो plant cell है उसकी cell membrane नहीं है, there is a cell wall present. इसी तरह से ये animal cell है और animal cell की like उसकी एक membrane होती है. This is the cell membrane. You can see cell membrane. और सेल मेम्ब्रेन के अंदर ऑर्गेनाइज्ड फॉर्म में आपको मिलेंगे इन साइटोप्लाज्म. दिस येलो पार्ट इज द साइटोप्लाज्म, अ लिक्विड फॉर्म. और इसमें आपके जितने भी सेल के जितने भी डिफरेंट ऑर्गेनल्स वो आपको नजर आएंगे. अच्छा, अब न्यूक्लियस भी जो यू कैन सी देयर इज अ वैक्यूल, सेल वैक्यूल, और ये जो पिंक पार्ट है इसको हम सेल वैक्यूल कहेंगे, और इसके अंदर हमारा न्यूक्लियस है. और इसका जो न्यूक्लियस है दिस इज सेल वैक्यूल और इसमें हमारा न्यूक्लियस है. ठीक है, सो द ओनली डिफरेंस इन बिटवीन देम इज दैट सेल वॉल एंड सेल मेम्ब्रेन. Now we will talk about the size of the cells that we humans are made up of 6 into 6 into 10,136 into 10 1013 cells. You can if you calculate that, that is 60,000 of thousands of cells. You can see that इतने types of cells जो है हमारी body में present है, और इनसे हमारा पूरी एक human body बनती है. So compare this to about 300 billions of stars in Milky Way. Milky Way एक basically हमारी galaxy है जिसमें हमारे पास अर्थ सोलर सिस्टम की जो गैलेक्सी है उसमें हमारे पास 300 बिलियंस ऑफ स्टार्स इफ यू कंसिडर, तो उसमें हमारे 300 बिलियंस ऑफ स्टार्स हैं. देयर आर अबाउट 200 टाइम्स मोर सेल्स इन आवर बॉडी. अब गैलेक्सी जो मिल्की वे या गैलेक्सी है हमारी, उसके 300 बिलियंस ऑफ स्टार्स है, देन हमारी बॉडी में 200 टाइम्स मोर सेल्स जो हैं हमारी ह्यूमन बॉडी में present, and then there are stars in the Milky Way. Okay, and Milky Way is uh, quite a big galaxy. If you can see, we cannot imagine even कि हमारी जो Milky Way है या that is a big galaxy, so we can see uncountable stars over there. So still 200 more times जो हमारी ह्यूमन बॉडी के सेल्स हैं as compared to the Milky Way. So interestingly, there are only 200 different types of cells in our body. So you can see that there are 200 different types of cells are in our body, or just a collection of cells. And you can say this in calculated form. You can say that 60,000 of thousands of cells जो है हमारी human body में cells जो हैं वो present है. इसके अलावा हमारी जो सेल की लाइफ स्पैन है, व्हाट इज़ द लाइफ स्पैन ऑफ सेल इज़ दैट के सेल की एक लाइफ लाइन होती है इन आवर बॉडी अबाउट 96,000 थाउजेंड ह्यूमन सेल्स that die each minute. The lifespan of cells much depends on their type पे depend कर रहा होता है कि cell type पे depend कर रहा होता है of any lifespan of a cell. इसी तरह से white blood cells हैं that live for about 13 days. Top layer skin stays with us for a month. The lifespan of red blood cell is 120 days. A liver cell live for about year and a half. Okay, what makes the cell? Many things in which include mainly water, that is 70%, and then protein are 20%, and then the rest of the cells are composed of small molecules that include sugar, fatty acids, signal transmission molecules, and molecules that are sources of energy or used to store the energy. So you can see that these all uh, features of the cells that completely make up the complete cell. So now we talk about what makes the cell. For bioinformatics, it is the protein that we will be most interested in and is actually the proteins that are the engine of any process in the cell and makes us alive. अब बायोइन्फॉर्मेटिक्स में जो हमारा mainly concern है that is of protein, क्योंकि these proteins are the responsible for any function, or we are very keen we have a keen interest in it because these are the engine of any processes in the cell में जो processes हो रहे होते हैं उनको you can say that this is the engine and that makes us alive. Okay, now this is we will understand the term proteins. Proteins basically, just like I have told you in the previous slide, that these are the engine of any processes in the cell. So let's understand what are the proteins. Proteins are the large molecules and are the chains of amino acids. प्रोटीन्स जो होते हैं एक लार्ज मॉलिक्यूल्स होते हैं, एक उनका कंप्लीट स्ट्रक्चर होता है एंड दीज आर कंपोज्ड ऑफ द चेन्स ऑफ अमाइनो एसिड. यू कैन सी दिस इज द कंप्लीट प्रोटीन, और उस कंप्लीट प्रोटीन के अंदर हमारे डिफरेंट हमारे जो चेन, दिस इज कंपोज्ड ऑफ अ चेन ऑफ amino acid. These circles are number of amino acids. You can see that this is the position 1 and this is the position 110. You can see that 110 amino acids are present in this protein. So for a start, consider insulin. Insulin is basically a protein and a hormone that promotes the absorption of glucose from the blood into fat, liver and skeletal muscle. जो हमारी बॉडी में फैट, लिवर, skeletal muscle उसमें जो एक्स्ट्रा ग्लूकोज होती है, इंसुलिन उसको अब्जॉर्ब कर लेता है. अगर आपकी बॉडी में इंसुलिन की डेफिशिएंसी हो जाती है एंड दैट मीन्स के उस पर्सन को डायबिटीज हो गया या उसके जो शुगर लेवल है वो इंक्रीज हो गया है. So just because of the deficiency of insulin. Human insulin is composed of 51 amino acid जो human insulin and that is composed of 51 amino acid. The following image depicts the secondary structure of the human insulin. ओके अब जो प्रोटीन है उसकी जो कॉम्बिनेशन है यू कैन से दैट कि उसका जो स्ट्रक्चर बनता है दीज आर अमाइनो एसिड्स आर ऑर्गेनिक कंपाउंड्स containing the amine and carboxyl group along with the side chain specific to each amino acid. हर amino acid में जो amino acid एक amino acid दूसरे amino acid से किस तरह से attached है with the help of amine, carboxyl group और side chain के साथ. So don't worry about the structure of proteins and amino acids. We will talk about it in the future topics in details. So other elements, key elements of an amino acid are carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, although other elements are found in the side chain. इसके अलावा side chain, the colored one is the side chain in which other elements will be included. About 500 naturally occurring amino acids are known and can be classified in many ways. लेकिन जो genetic code है, genetic code chart होता है उसमें हमारे पास 20 amino acid जो है वो appear होते हैं. अच्छा अब जैसे कि I have already told you कि when DNA transformed into RNA, that process is called transcription, and when we when from RNA to amino acid transformation is called translation. So we will use the genetic code of amino acid to make from RNA to amino acid, to make amino acid from RNA to proteins. So this is the human insulin. And a hormone. What is hormone? Basically I have just like insulin is a hormone. So what is the definition of hormone? A chemical substance produced in the body that controls and regulates the activity of a certain cells or organism. Just like insulin is a hormone, and that regulates the absorption of glucose. Many hormones are secreted by special glands, such as thyroid hormone produced by the thyroid gland. Okay, and now human insulin. Secondary structure of the protein provides only a sequence of the amino acid that compose this molecule. In this depiction, amino acids are marked with the circles that contain a three-letter abbreviation. जैसे कि I have already told you, there is a long sequence of in the double helix DNA structure. So when it transforms into the RNA, this is a long sequence of ATGCs. So when we combine the three letters from the RNA sequence, just like ATG are the three base pairs, and when we collectively combine these three triplets, and we make a one amino acid. इसके बाद the insulin chain, for example, starts with methionine, मेथियोनिन से वो स्टार्ट होती है, which is abbreviated as MET, which is abbreviation, which उसकी जो abbreviation है that is of methionine, and insulin starts from the methionine, and this is the start codon. Secondary structure of the protein does not tells us how the protein looks like in real life. अब जो सेकेंडरी स्ट्रक्चर है उसमें हमें वी कैन नॉट रियलाइज द real protein structure. If you can imagine, this is the you can say that this is the example of protein, insulin protein, or when it transformed into amino acid from RNA to amino acids, then this is the secondary structure. और जब उसका primary structure की बात करेंगे तो that is of the sequence, or you can say that RNA sequence, mature RNA sequence. And after that, this is the secondary structure, and when it make a fold, secondary structure of the protein does not tells us how the protein looks like in the real life. That is, how does the chain fold in 3 dimensions. अच्छा, जब secondary structure we cannot say that it's हम लोग इसको realize नहीं कर सकते कि real life में ये कैसा दिखता होगा, बट जबकि जो ये अमाइनो एसिड की जो चेन है, it will make a 3D structure. You can see 3D structure. This is the 3D structure. जब ये अपने आप को इस तरह से फोल्ड कर लेती है, देन वी डिपिक्ट के इसका दिस इज द स्टैंडर्ड स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ द प्रोटीन, और इसका जो स्टैंडर्ड उसका फंक्शन है, व्हाट द फंक्शन एसोसिएटेड विद दैट प्रोटीन. फोल्डिंग ऑफ प्रोटीन डिफाइंस इट्स फंक्शन, और जिस तरह से वो अपनी फोल्डिंग करेगा, अगर उसकी फोल्डिंग डिफरेंट होगी तो उसका फंक्शन भी डिफरेंट होगा. इसके बाद the actual 3-dimensional structure of the protein is given by its tertiary structure. There are 3 levels. Primary structure, primary, that is the primary sequence. Second level is secondary structure, which is the chain of amino acid. और जो उसका third level है, that is tertiary structure. This is the tertiary structure, and this is the picture of a tertiary structure, और इसको हम 3D structure भी कहेंगे. Here is how insulin looks like in 3D, where in the depiction the sequence of amino acid have been abstracted. जो sequence of amino acid है which is abstracted, you can see that that is transformed into a fold. So with the abstracted with the parts that looks like sheets and helices. So don't worry about them now. इसमें आपको ये प्लेन शीट्स नजर आ रही हैं, और कुछ स्पाइरल शेप हैं, these are the helices, कुछ लूप्स हैं, और ये इसकी जो बॉन्डिंग्स हैं, किस तरह से जो फोल्डिंग में इनकी फोर्सेस है, बॉन्डिंग हुई हुई है आपस में. So these all make a sense of a 3D structure of a protein. So let's take another example of a leptin. Leptin is also a hormone that helps to regulate energy balance by preventing hunger. आपके जो बॉडी में हंगर होती है उसको प्रिवेंट करती है. Made of 167 amino acids. Its tertiary structure is shown below. इसका जो tertiary structure है, this is given as below. और इसके total amino acid 167 है. इसकी टोटल जो अमाइनो एसिड की चेन है which makes a complete leptin protein, this is of including of 167. Okay, one more example of a leptin is lack of leptin leads to overweight. अगर बॉडी में leptin प्रोटीन या उस हार्मोन की डेफिशिएंसी है तो दैट मीन्स कि आप उस पर्टिकुलर ऑर्गेनिज्म की जो बॉडी है वो ओवरवेट हो जाएगी. Molecular biologists have studied this on various model organisms. Different model organisms होते हैं, just like mice है या other animals हैं, या इस तरह से वो इन पर स्टडी करते हैं. उनकी फॉर एग्जांपल इस माइस में जो है लेप्टिन की डेफिशिएंसी, एंड दैट बिकम ओवरवेट, और दिस इज द comparative other mice. So let's this is the today's lecture, and now we will in next lecture we will talk about the complete structure of amino acid के amino acids किस तरह से इनकी combination होती है with different elements of the just like we have talked about carbon amine group, carboxyl group, and the side chain. So next lecture will be of proteins. Thank you.